Here today is Simon Krieger, discussing the destruction of Braithwaite Bridge. Menace! A feckless, treacherous, unhinged menace! Jared, he was here! Right here! Right here, Jared! Right here! What's Roxxon's stance on this group, the Underground? Their leader, the Tinkerer, went after you in her speech. He's a menace! Too soft. He's a low-energy menace! Too easy. Maybe he's a weak-minded... Oh!
Well, that sounds terrific, Mr. Mayor. Though, of course, I'll have to reserve my tough but fair final judgment until I have all the facts. I'm getting emails from the rapidly shrinking yet still stubbornly obtuse contingent of Spider-Man fanboys and fangirls blithely insisting he did a wonderful thing, shutting down a drug lab run by a delightful fellow whose street name seems to be, wait for it, Tombstone. Now, I'm glad he's behind bars, but do you know how Spider-Man shut this operation down? By setting it on fire. Do you know what drug labs do when you set them on fire? They explode! Spider-Man could have taken out the entire block with his criminally reckless grandstanding. Fortunately, New York's bravest, our firefighters, contained the blaze because that's their job. And if Spider-Man had any sense, he'd have turned over whatever information he had on Tombstone to the police and let New York's finest do their job. But no, he thought the best way to handle drug dealing is with arson.
Is that right? Tell me, are you a police officer? Prosecutor? Maybe an award-winning reporter with decades on the job like me?
And results are what we want. I'm sold. And you know, I'm glad you're here, so I can share my theory on how Spider-Man may well be working with the demons.
You'll have to bear with me. I've got a splitting headache. Why? Because once again, all I'm hearing is how Spider-Man saved the day, how the threat is over, how he's a hero. I'm going to say this once. A hero does not let a helicopter trailing part of a crane destroy some of the most valuable real estate in the world. The top floor of an office building was wiped out. Another was blown to smithereens by a rocket launcher. Had they been occupied? The carnage... I can't even imagine. And now people are saying it's over? The demons are done? I'm sorry, didn't we hear this all before with Wilson Fisk? Was it done then? I've had several calls about these private security agents the mayor brought in. Our next caller has some thoughts. Speak.
Because that's how he wanted it. God forbid he share the spotlight with anyone. That's it. I'm done pointing out the obvious. Let's go to commercials. I need a double aspirin with an antacid chaser. No!
Now, wait a second, my friend. I'm not questioning your word. I'm sure what you said happened. But have you considered it was in Spider-Man's interest to help you? It's horrifying, isn't it?
Does this mean that we have to live in fear? To be constantly looking over our shoulders? To expect an attack at any moment?
My opinion, folks, the answer is...
yes. Yes, well, that's what happens when the supposed authorities start breaking the law. Next to them, other lawbreakers don't seem so bad. Thanks for calling. We're out of time.
You are so deluded about reality.
I am wondering how you even function in the world.
You'll have to excuse me. I'm trying to control my stress levels. I'm visualizing a peaceful field, grass, trees, baby ducks. Oh, wait.
The Ducks just got shot by gangsters trying to replace Wilson Fisk. People, stop saying Spider-Man is cleaning up Fisk's mob like he's doing us some huge favor. He's cleaning up a mess he created. And I told you it would happen. And boy, oh boy, I can just hear the calls I'm gonna get now. Jonah, you're insensitive. Jonah, you have no heart. Well, listen up, snowflakes. This is the real world. And in the real world, bad things happen. Bad guys happen. When you weaken our military, when you weaken our law enforcement, when you dream about a magical land where we all circle around the campfire and sing Kumbaya with teenagers in spandex standing guard, this is what you get. This is what happens. Families torn apart. Neighborhoods in ruin. You get the fall of Western civilization one bullet and one bomb at a time. I'll tell you, loyal viewers, I see a thing like today and I'm all out of words, really. Nothing more to say. I've run myself blue in the face warning you that something just like this was going to happen, and now it's here, and now you get to sleep in the bed you made. I've heard those rumors as well, and while I initially thought it was fear-mongering, something I have absolutely no patience for, I have grown increasingly concerned. Why won't they let me in to inspect their bases? What are they hiding? We still abide by the Constitution, folks, and that includes protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, and freedom of speech. So if you have concerns, if you see abuses happening, call me. If the authorities won't listen, I will. And I will spread the word to our fellow New Yorkers. If these tyrants think they can silence me, let them try. No one puts a muzzle on Jonah Jameson. Friends, today we have a caller who's been a victim of what people call the corruption that infects otherwise law-abiding citizens, causing them to go on violent rampages. Police assure me these corrupted are not responsible for their actions, so I am not divulging my guest's name. Tell us, caller, what was it like? With the island of Manhattan quarantined, there are a lot of scared people out there. Here's one. You're on the air. That sounds like a yes. There you have it, people. Spider-Man beats up the mentally ill. Get ready, folks, because this is a bombshell. We have on the line a lady whose husband was kidnapped by Spider-Man. Wrong. Here's a little lesson in the English language, my friend. Prejudice means to prejudge someone before you know anything about them. I know all I need to about Spider-Man. He runs around causing chaos, wearing a mask so he doesn't have to answer for his shenanigans, and a flashy costume so he gets attention to feed his gigantic, insatiable ego. Now, if I'm a mentally unstable person and I see him getting all this coverage, what am I going to do? It's called copycat behavior, people, and it's ruining New York. Ah, the truth bomb strikes. But wait, here's a 50-megaton payload of fact. While Spider-Man tried to grab the glory for himself chasing one truck, another vehicle got away with an arsenal of deadly, illegal weapons. Fisk, for all his faults, would never have let them be used in this city. But these demons, either they're some kind of fanatical cult, or they just don't care. Anybody feel like they're in danger now? That would be one Lonnie Lincoln, a.k.a. Tombstone. Did it seem they were fighting over drug profits or merchandise? I understand there's talk of a new drug that turns its users into zombies. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Not true. The NDC is doing what they can. If they're busy dealing with outbreaks all over the country, or the world, that's less time they have to work on the anti-serum. I know it's hard to trust anyone these days, but you've always been able to trust me to tell it like it is, and I am telling you now, do not violate the quarantine. Stay in your homes. Take care of your families. I'll be right here, facing it with you. We're New Yorkers. We can handle anything. And we can sure as hell beat this. Our next caller was involved in a frightening hostage situation. Tell us about it, please. That you know of. Next caller. Okay. Even the mole people living in the sewers know about the high-speed chase between police, Spider-Man, and the demons. Once again, Spider-Man makes a bad situation infinitely worse, and we have a highly intelligent caller who agrees with me. You're on with Jonah Jameson. Let's discuss the costume lunatic who just literally destroyed a bank. Wait, you think I'm talking about Herman Schultz? Oh, no. I meant Spider-Man. Look, Schultz is a career criminal, obviously disturbed. I mean, he calls himself the Shocker, so I don't expect him to act like a sane person. But Spider-Man claims to be a hero. Well, tell that to the bank employees who are out of a job. The customers who had irreplaceable family heirlooms in the safe deposit boxes. Couldn't he have waited until Schultz was, I don't know, outside to start the fight? Of course, then he would have probably wrecked several people's cars, because Spider-Man views our city as his playground and your property as his toys, and he just loves smashing his toys together. Alarmist, paranoid, conspiracy theorist. All nasty words people have used to insult and demean me. But now, after years of me trying to warn you all, here we are, Spider-Man has literally brought a plague down upon us. Why do I blame him and not Martin Lee? I do blame Martin Lee. He deserves swift justice, but he's a lunatic terrorist. This is what they do. Whereas Spider-Man claims to be a hero. Yet he obviously knew about the threat and didn't warn us. He either thought he'd handled it, which makes him criminally negligent, or he was in on it, which makes him a terrorist too. Totally unconcerned with your safety. New polls are in. Mayor Osborn's approval ratings have spiked since Martin Lee's arrest. He seems a shoo-in for re-election. I've got one of his supporters on the line. Speak!
You might have heard about the robbery at Roseman's auction house. What you probably didn't hear, but my sources confirm, is that the perpetrators were wearing masks. Horrible, demonic faces. Yet another example of the explosion in mass criminals since Spider-Man came on the scene. Let's hear your thoughts. You're on with J. Jonah Jameson.
Some people have accused me of being negative, only criticizing, not offering solutions when it comes to Spider-Man. Here's my solution, and it's very simple. Unmask. Join the police academy. Wear a badge. Then you can catch all the crooks you want, and I'll sing your praises on this very show. And all that hogwash about how that would place his loved ones in danger? Come on. You can't convince me that guy has any loved ones. I knew you'd come around. Now, some people falsely say I make up stories about Spider-Man. And this will not help my case because it sounds outlandish, but I have personally seen listener-recorded video of Spider-Man snatching pigeons. Pigeon napping. Why? What possible purpose could there be for such aberrant behavior? I've thought about it long and hard, and I think I've figured it out. He's eating them. We've always assumed Spider-Man is a man with the attributes of a spider. But what if it's the reverse? What if somehow a spider gained the powers of a man, and he's stalking his prey? Somewhere there's a giant web with these poor pigeons stuck in it, waiting to be devoured. And will it stop at pigeons? Will we be next? I promise you this. I will not rest until I have the answers.
You raise a very salient point, caller. In times of martial law, civil liberties are most at risk. My advice? Keep your head down. Don't go out unless you have to. Trust the police before Sable. They're from here. They're in this with us. And document any abuses. At some point, this will be over, and they will be held accountable.
No personalizations, don't ask, not gonna get it.
Well, that's my job, Mr. Mayor. All I have is my integrity, and I won't compromise it for anyone. Now, what's this crucial breaking news you're revealing for the first time anywhere on my show? Yes, well, you know how criminals are. Rival factions and all. He didn't want the competition. He obviously had a long-standing feud with Fisk and wants him put away. That doesn't make him Mother Teresa. It just means he had a grudge. Folks, you know I'm not one to promote conspiracy theories. Except ones I think are worthy of further discussion, like this one. I've heard reports of Spider-Man hovering around radio towers. At first, I thought he was sabotaging them. But a far more alarming possibility came to mind. In his misguided delusion that he is protecting us, is he hacking into all our conversations? Business deals, credit card transactions, those personal calls with the wife when you're on a long, lonely book tour. I mean, when one is on a book tour, I wasn't talking about myself. I don't do that sort of thing, and anyone who thinks they have recordings of me doing it is wrong. We just had our city hall bombed. I think it's time we actually started enforcing the laws we have, starting with vigilantism being illegal, despicable. Fortunately, the police and the bomb squad handled the situation. Jared, cut the call! Sorry, hard to hear when we're talking over each other. Clearly someone traumatized by a terrifying experience. For resources to help with PTSD, go to our website. Another public service from J. Jonah Jameson. Mrs. Packer, I'm so glad you're safe. And also that I can enlighten you about Spider-Man. You're from out of town, so you don't know what a menace he is. We have a return caller who recently raised concerns about Sable agents abusing their authority. Let's find out. Are things any better? People, I always thought Spider-Man was a few geese short of a gaggle, but this confirms it.
As if that atrocious white spider wasn't enough, I've had repeated sightings of him in a new outfit. Some sort of punk rock inspired thing that makes sane people want to tear out their eyeballs with a rusty spoon. Now, I was around for the birth of punk rock, and I did not care for it then. It's a flagrant declaration of disrespect for authority, and if Spider-Man is going down that route... Oh, no, I just had a terrifying thought. What if this isn't the Spider-Man we know, but some sort of metal mohawk-wearing copycat? What if there's more than one? Jared, go to break. I need to lie down. Folks, the mastermind of the City Hall bombing has finally been brought to justice, and shockingly, it's philanthropist Martin Lee. Now, I'll discuss in a moment what kind of twisted Jekyll and Hyde mentality it takes to lead such a double life. But first, a word of caution to everyone celebrating his arrest. Yes, it's good that he's in jail, but look at all the things we didn't know. How long was he a suspect without anyone telling us? How long did he have a deadly biological weapon that could kill us all? Shouldn't we have been told? Evacuated the city? It's not an accident that we weren't given the information we need to protect ourselves and our families. Someone made that decision. Was it the police? The mayor? I know one guilty party for sure, and his initials are Spider-Man. Bring your children into the room, friends, because I'm delivering a lesson impressionable youngsters need to hear. My guest today is a man who learned the hard way that dressing up like Spider-Man isn't cool. Go ahead, sir. Sir, I understand you've been through a lot, but please refrain from using that kind of language. This is a family show. Appalling when a businessman is afraid to make an honest living. As well you should be. And I accept your apology. It's understandable you were bamboozled by the mainstream voices telling you everything was dandy, nothing to worry about. Go out and consume. Don't ask questions. I was a lone voice in the wilderness then, but now more and more people like you are realizing who spoke the truth. And that, my friends, is how we will take our city back. A helicopter fight, trailing a crane, in the air above our teeming streets, on which it could have crashed at any moment in a blazing rotor-chopping fireball of doom. Still think the webhead's protecting people like you, caller? Let's talk about Halloween, folks. It may be good fun for the kids to dress up as a cowboy or astronaut or ballerina and trick-or-treat, but this trend of grown adults glorifying the likes of Spider-Man by dressing up as them is, especially in the times we live in, disturbing. What say you, Gino from the Bronx? Oh, of course. Thank you for calling in, Mr. Mayor. My lines are open for you anytime. Jared, did you hear? Tough but fair! That's our new slogan. I don't care who else is using it. Don't care. Our next caller reports a problem I saw coming a mile away. Go ahead, ma'am. Sable. If I'm not mistaken, they're based in Simcaria, a foreign country. Aha! Of course not. Why? Because no doubt it was too much effort. Spider-Man doesn't like effort. He wants everything to be easy, or he's not interested. Typical of his generation. You know what I blame? The internet. Except for the part of the internet that carries my show, which is performing a great public service. We obviously have pressing problems right now. But Jonah Jameson never stops uncovering the truth. And my sources are telling me that things do not look good for Mayor Osborn. We are only beginning to learn the truth about his involvement in the Devil's Breath outbreak. But there's more. Corruption, cronyism, personal involvement in lucrative military contracts, despite assurances he's hands-off with Oscorp while serving as mayor. I know New York can survive this crisis. I'm not sure Mayor Osborn's career can or should. Terrifying. And I understand that while you were in the grip of this madness, Spider-Man beat you up. Now let me explain to you how the Fisk arrest should have worked. The police gather evidence, the DA builds a case. Then, early one morning, birds chirping, sun rising, cops knock on the door of every last member of Fisk's organization. But no, Spider-Man had to go charging in. Look at me, I'm a skinny spandex-wearing bull in a china shop. Sure, he got Fisk, but his thugs are still crawling all over the city, desperate, with no one to rein them in. You know what a Pyrrhic victory is? Look it up! There should be a picture of Spider-Man right there. But who's going to suffer? That's right, not him. All of us. So, numerous witnesses saw Spider-Man swinging through Times Square like the glory hound he is, firing webs at electronic billboards and causing them to reboot. Granted, those billboards are an eyesore. In my day, sign painting was an art. But the more pressing question is, what was he up to? I have a theory. He is infecting these billboards with a virus so that they will subliminally hypnotize pedestrians. Hypnotize them into what? Into liking Spider-Man, and he's been doing it for years. This is the only plausible explanation for how many fans this menace seems to have. Because some people are spreading scurrilous rumors about me, I want to address the matter of the Scorpion right now. Yes, I paid for the procedure that empowered him. We desperately needed someone to bring down Spider-Man. It's not my fault the treatments drove him crazy. It's that ivory tower elite scientist who was so hungry for my money he didn't take proper precautions. No one believes in personal responsibility more than J. Jonah Jameson. But in this, I can categorically say, I am blameless. Sorry, just to be clear, you see Spider-Man in the area, and he doesn't lift a finger to stop these drug deals? Once again, a low-information member of Spider-Man's cult, fan club, wants to make him a saint. Sounds insane, but I always hear people out before passing judgment. Go ahead, caller. With all due respect to the office of mayor, the police cleaned up the city, and entrepreneurs boosted the economy. I do approve of many of the mayor's initiatives, like cracking down on quality-of-life crimes and reducing red tape. But I think he takes credit for a lot of things other people do. He's ambitious, which is not a bad thing. But I always say, be careful of people with agendas. We used to have a vigilant press to keep politicians honest, but it's a shadow of its former self. Now all you've really got is me. Folks, you've no doubt heard about the riot at Empire State University. But this is not your usual toxic mix of underage drinking, entitled millennials, and hormones run rampant. Authorities are keeping a tight lid on the situation, but my sources tell me the demons drugged the students, turning them into deadly rage machines. What has become of our fair city, ladies and gentlemen, when we have to fear our own children, our neighbors, our husbands and wives? Be vigilant, be on guard, and keep a close eye on that barista with the man bun making your skinny latte, or you could be next! Ah, the real heroes. What a relief. I think we can all use a happy ending. My friends, the Rhino and the Scorpion are back behind bars, but only after wreaking unimaginable havoc in a reckless rampage with Spider-Man. Hopefully, they'll never see daylight again, but we need to be ready if they do. Normal humans can't stand against the likes of the Rhino. So, here's my proposal. You've heard of police dogs, right? Now bear with me. We train, outfit, and deploy police rhinoceroses. You got a rhino? We got a rhino too, baby! A group of terrorists assassinate American citizens in a bombing attack. How is it possible that instead of being wiped out of existence, these masked criminals are still at large and still striking at innocent people like Oscorp CFO Charles Standish in their own homes? How? You're on with J. Jonah Jameson. And my friend, you pray, and you go down fighting. Through sheer luck, you could have been brutally killed. Mark your calendars, folks, because I'm going to say something you thought you'd never hear from me. Spider-Man got it right. Does that mean I was wrong about him? Am I apologizing? Hell no. You see, I have it on good authority that he is a regular listener of this program, and now it makes a lot of sense. He heard what I said. He internalized it, and he learned, improved himself, and against all odds, he did the right thing. So, Spider-Man, you're welcome. However, don't think I'm going to go easy on Spider-Man from here on out. I'll be watching, keeping him honest. Spider-Man, since I know you're listening, imagine my eyes on you everywhere you go. I mean, not like the shower. That would be weird. Or the bathroom. Or let's go to commercial. It is a dangerous and misguided mentality that thinks criminals like the Shocker and these demon-masked people are just a fact of life, like filthy slush in January and body odor in July. They're not coming to New York because it's where the money is. They're here because they see Spider-Man traipsing around, being fawned over by low-information dupes, getting away with his rampages for years, and they think, why not me? And really, as long as we don't do anything about that menace, how can we argue with that? Remember when Spider-Man had a sidekick? The Black Cat? A curvaceous young lady in leather. Not the kind you'd bring home to mother. And then it turned out she was a thief. Big shock, right? Well, I hear she's back. And let me make a prediction. Spider-Man's going to give her a second chance. Is it because he's naive? A thief himself? Or is he just thinking with his web shooters? Spider-Man, I know you're listening, so let me issue a warning now. As the old saying goes, lie down with cats, get up with fleas. What's that? My intern is yammering in my ear again. It's dogs? I thought it was cats. It doesn't matter. The metaphor still applies. Dogs, cats. Go away, Jared. Calm down, caller. I have always been the voice of reason, so listen to me now. I know from my vast network of contacts that the National Disease Center is working on recreating the stolen anti-serum. A cure is coming. The question is, how long will it take? Will it get here in time? But we've been through tough spots before, and we'll get through this too. Now here's a frightening thought. Oscorp does research and development for the military. Are the demons after experimental weapons? If I was a psychotic cult, I would be. I wonder where they got the idea. What highly visible figure has made a career out of fighting madmen with lethal experimental technology like flight suits, tectonic gauntlets, and gigantic scorpion tails? No, don't say the name. I just ate. Friends, there's a caller on the line we all need to hear from. Go ahead, sir. Let me stop you right there because I think the salient point has been made. Emulate Spider-Man in any way, and you will die! Don't do it, kids! And that's another one of Uncle Jonah's life lessons. Jared, trademark that. It's clear we are at an impasse. My best to you and your husband, madam. Jared, go to commercial, then fire yourself! Then rehire yourself before the commercial ends. But no, your job hangs by a thread. If I paid you, I'd cut your salary in half. And that is not a coincidence. You're welcome, Mrs. Packer. I consider explaining these things a public service. It's happened, people. The chickens have come home to roost. Of course, by chickens, I mean the lunatics who've escaped from Rikers Island. And the home they're coming to is yours. Thanks to Spider-Man attracting these psychos to our city like moths to a flame. We had them all stashed right off the coast of Manhattan, if only someone had pointed out what a bad idea that is. Wait! I did. So listen to me now. Lock your doors. Arm yourselves with whatever you can get your hands on. It is now every man, woman, and child for themselves. And with reports that the Devil's Breath WMD has again been stolen, I have a very bad feeling it's only going to get worse from here. Okay, my faithful listeners, I've been getting a lot of calls about this Sable International outfit that's assisting police with the search for suspects in the City Hall bombing. I've got Ken on line 3 with some thoughts. Ken, you're on with Jonah Jameson. Right thing? The right thing would be to call the professionals. My son serves proudly in the Air Force. He's logged thousands of hours of flight time and years of training in protecting our homeland. But he's not good enough? Savvy listeners don't need me to tell you that the Demon's cult, gang, terrorist organization, all the above apply, is out of control. We have a survivor of one of their brazen attacks on the line. Go ahead. The mass breakout at Rikers Island, which camera footage clearly shows Spider-Man involved in, has spilled countless hardened criminals into our streets at the worst possible time. I want to hear how it's affecting you. Speak! And results are what we want. You know, I'm glad you're here, so I can share my theory on how Spider-Man may well be working with the demons. I've expressed my concern with Sable International's heavy-handed tactics. Our next caller witnessed them firsthand. Tell us what happened. Snarled traffic, twisted flaming wreckage, people running for their lives. Am I describing a natural disaster? A terrorist attack? No, that's what Spider-Man calls fighting crime. A massive truck careening through the streets, bullets flying, screams of horror. Would any of it have happened if Spider-Man hadn't been up to his usual attention-grabbing antics? Of course not! I've said it until I'm about to pop a vein! Let the police do their job! Madam, you have my sympathies. Just imagine what sort of deviant personality would dress up like that in the first place. And it's a short step from there to peeping Tom activity. Folks, it doesn't matter if you live on the first floor or the 31st. Keep your curtains drawn. Lock your windows. A webbed pervert walks among us! My dear, you've learned the hard way the sad truth about Spider-Man. He only cares about the glory. Something as, forgive me, prosaic as a break-in and robbery is beneath his notice. Do not rely on him to keep your property safe. The only thing he truly values is his own massive ego. Why anyone who lives in this city would make excuses for a menace like Spider-Man is something I will never understand. But look at the big picture. Do you have these kind of crimes in Edina? Pardon me, ma'am, I didn't hear that last part over my intern's utter incompetence. You realize, of course, that it's possible Spider-Man arranged the kidnapping so he could save your husband and grab all the glory? Listeners, go to my website now, and you'll see cell phone footage of a criminal assault in broad daylight. I warn you, it's disturbing. There's blood, there's profanity. But most of all, it's offensive because of what you see in the background. Spider-Man, swinging blissfully around like a circus trapeze artist, not a care in the world, which I'm sure the victim would have found very amusing if he wasn't being robbed and beaten half to death. Spider-Man didn't do a thing to help, which leaves us with two possibilities. He didn't care, or our friendly neighborhood crime fighter can't find a crime happening right under his nose. More and more listeners are warning that the mayor's sable agents, ostensibly here to protect us, are behaving more like an occupying army. But let's hear it from the caller. Go ahead. Here's what we know. Explosions and gunfire at the mayor's event downtown. Chaos, insanity, death, and decay. Hell has opened up her wide and bloody mouth to spew demons onto the streets of the city you and I love. And do you know what JJ has to say about that? Do you know what I say about all this bloodshed, death, and despair? I say, that's what you get, New York. I say, I told you so. When you trust mass freaks more than old-fashioned law and order, this is what you get. Nope, that's it. I am done. This is Jonah Jameson throwing it to commercial, and I'm not sure I'm ever coming back. Aha! I said it. You all heard me say we needed this. Are you using my idea of bringing in cops from Lake Placid? Let me stop you right there because you're obviously not seeing the big picture. Yes, the threat was averted. But how did things get to that point? Where did this devil's breath come from? Why does Spider-Man always seem to know things before we do? The threat's not really over until we know it won't happen again, and I'm not exactly up to my mustache in confidence. Mark my words, it's no time for New Yorkers to let their guard down. No, now get to your point. Folks, you've heard me express grave concerns about the risk to civil liberties posed by the police department's crime system and their omnipresent towers. But at least the intention is to stop crimes. Now, recently, Spider-Man has been seen tampering with these very towers, and it's reasonable that my loyal listeners suspect he is disabling the towers so he can commit his unlawful misdeeds with impunity. But Spider-Man is not your ordinary run-of-the-mill menace. Oh, he's a 12th-level kung fu master, 50 moves ahead menace, which is why I think he's actually hacking into these towers to spy on you and me. Your only defense? Listen to my show. All the time. If he's gonna spy on us, let him hear that we're on to him. By listening to me. Every waking moment. This underscores a concern I've had about these demons. They're not regular criminals. They might not even be ordinary terrorists, although they certainly commit terrorist acts. But it looks to me more and more like they're a cult. I got an interesting tip today. Remember that barbaric beast named the Rhino? Apparently last night he almost escaped from his cell in the raft. How, you ask? Well, No one there seems to know, but they assure me he's been relocated to a more secure cell. Now, I'm no expert on Supermax prisons, but isn't the whole point of them that there isn't anything else more secure? I mean, he's a 700-pound maniac with an indestructible horn. If there's a more secure cell, why wasn't he in it?
So, you may have heard about Spider-Man battling the demons in a warehouse. That's right. The media is officially calling them the Demons now. But that may not just be a colorful name for a criminal gang. I'm hearing there was some type of cult-like activity in that warehouse, an initiation ritual. What did it involve? We can only speculate. Black magic? Human sacrifice? What has Spider-Man wrought upon our city? Because while I am not excusing Wilson Fisk's behavior, he was old school, and he would not have allowed this. Spider-Man, he only cares about one thing: himself. That is such a stupid comment, I'm just going to sit here and stare at you disapprovingly for a minute. Let's start a timer. Armed thugs holding a gun to your head. A nightmare for anyone. For my next guest, it came true. Please, tell us about it, sir. I realize Norman Osborn claimed he was stepping back from running Oscorp when he was elected. But has he? Or is he using his office, his public trust, to enrich himself beyond imagining? And with threats like Electro, the Devil's Breath sickness, and who knows what else, has his greed endangered us all? These questions need to be asked. And as long as there is breath in my body, I will ask them. Welcome to Just the Facts with J. Jonah Jameson, alerting you to the threats you don't even know about. Let's dive right into the calls. Speak. Longtime caller Officer Andrews is back with us. As always, thank you for your service to our fair city, officer. What's new? You know, looking at the dark days just behind us, most of the people involved have faced consequences. Otto Octavius is in prison. Mayor Osborn resigned in disgrace. Escapees from Rikers continue to be rounded up. The remaining demons and Wilson Fisk's men are fighting over scraps. But funny how Spider-Man has faced no repercussions. Well, sure, you might say he saved us. But should saving all our lives really give him a mulligan on his long history of reckless behavior? Tune in after this message for my answer. Spoiler! No! Not long ago, the demons committed another heinous act of terrorism when they took a tour bus and all of its occupants hostage. We have one of those occupants here with us now, a Mrs. Edna Packer of Edina, Minnesota. What happened, ma'am? Friends, you know about the Spider-Man-related breakout at Rikers Island. Where are those escapees going now? To your neighborhood! Our next caller witnessed it personally. Please, tell us. I believe we'll just have to agree to disagree. Thank you for your service. Goodbye! Now, how often do I say Spider-Man should let the police handle crime? At least 6 times a day, and that's on my day off. And for once, that is exactly what happened when Officer Jefferson Davis stopped a truck full of armed criminals from mowing down innocent bystanders. What about Spider-Man, you ask? Where was the city's self-styled champion? Oh, he's the one who started this chase, right out of an 80s action movie. But it took a real hero to finish it. Thank God Officer Davis was on the scene, and that he saved all those lives in spite of Spider-Man's interference. Jefferson Davis, you have earned the coveted J. Jonah Jameson nod of respect. I just nodded. I can confirm that Sable International is a top military contracting firm. Its personnel are experienced and capable. What concerns me is that the parent company isn't based in America. If the police cross a line or are negligent, we have recourse. If one of these Sable people shoots a bystander, what's to stop them from fleeing the country? As I've been saying for some time, and people are finally starting to listen, we have a problem. I'm just not sure if this is the solution. But these are dangerous times, and for that reason, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. However, I also issued this warning. Step out of line, and J. Jonah Jameson will lower the boom. And believe me, you want this particular boom to stay right where it is. I most certainly do not. J. Jonah Jameson is not one to be judgmental.
But you, sir, are an extremely disturbed man. Goodbye. That reminds me of something Walter Cronkite once said to me. He said, Jonah, people respect a newsman with a mustache. It worked out for the best this time. Next time, how do we know Spider-Man won't cause the deaths of all concerned? Imagine this. A stray shopping cart dents your car. You take it to the auto body shop, only that shop is a front for a drug lord called Tombstone, and he and Spider-Man have decided to have a power struggle at that precise moment. Sir, tell us the rest. Another lost cause. Goodbye. Now, a lot of people ask me what I think of Mayor Osborn, but what matters is what you think. Let's ask our first caller. You're on with J. Jonah Jameson. I have never lied to you before, and I'm not going to start now. It's looking bad. We're running short on time. The elderly especially are in rough shape. And the NDC, despite working around the clock, as yet has no results. But do not forget this. We are New Yorkers. We take care of each other. We do what's right to the very end. And if we are facing the end, I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. There's no one I'd rather have at my side. Whatever comes next, we will face it bravely. Together. As New Yorkers. My friends, the privilege has been mine. Weren't you listening? He caused the problem. Forgive me for raising my voice. I'm emotional at the thought of what you went through. Jared, our caller seems shaken. Let's let him go. Don't talk over me. This is my show. Breaking news just in. My sources tell me the police are now looking at the demons as the primary suspects in the City Hall bombing. If that is in fact the case, I retract what I said about Spider-Man not being to blame. He would be, at the very least, partially responsible. Because the reckless manner in which Wilson Fisk was brought down directly created the void the demons poured into like the poison they are. Actions have consequences, my friends. And that's something Spider-Man has never understood. My friends, I'm getting a lot of frantic calls from people trying to get out of Manhattan. While I understand the impulse, that is not the answer. I've been in touch with the National Disease Center, and they've assured me they're working on an anti-serum. But for their efforts to bear fruit, we need to keep our composure. Here's why we have to stay where we are. Firstly, we need to keep the disease contained. The more it spreads and the more people who are sick, the fewer resources there are to go around. And I have received personal assurances from officials in Albany that relief convoys are coming, containing food and medicine. And, I've just been handed an update. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. It seems the relief convoys I just mentioned are being attacked by escaped inmates from Rikers Island Prison. Spider-Man, this is on you! You were there in the most charitable reading of the situation! You failed to stop the breakout! Worst case, you were responsible for it! You always claimed to be on our side. Well, Webhead, if that's true, you are rapidly running out of chances to prove it! Not just you. This is the problem with that masked maniac. The police are able to coordinate efforts, block streets, lay down tire shredding strips, because they're a team. Spider-Man is a one-man show who cares about one thing. Spider-Man! And you almost paid for that. With your life. Why? Because he hides behind that mask. You trained. You stand up with your badge and name tag on and you do your job every day. He runs and hides. If you cause the kind of damage he does, what would happen? We all know the deadliest jobs in America. Logging, deep-sea fishing, deployed military. Well, in New York, working for Wilson Fisk tops them all. Fisk's people are dropping like flies, and the fly swatters are rival gangs moving in to get their piece of the pie. Now, I'm not shedding any tears over gangsters, but it's only a matter of time before innocent people get killed. If only someone had predicted this. Wait, someone did. What was his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. All right, I've got it. It was me! Have you ever been driving along, going to work or church, minding your own business, when suddenly, bam, you hit a pothole, damaging your car and ruining your whole day? Well, you know who to blame. No, not city bureaucracy. Spider-Man. He's been seen leaping down from great heights to pound the ground with maximum force. Why? There's only one possible reason I can think of. He hates us, and he wants us to be miserable.
Time!
Folks, the city is in crisis. We have bridges and tunnels closed. People who work in the city but don't live here are trapped within. Others have been barred from homes placed under emergency quarantine. I'm hearing reports of tent cities, people sleeping in parks. It's like the Depression and the 1918 flu epidemic all rolled into one. I know times are hard and we are all struggling, but if you see someone who needs help, do what you can. That's the only way we'll make it through this. We must pull together or fall apart. Jared, write that down. That was a good one. And you'll be singing a different tune when 3 new mobs are lining up to charge you triple for that same pipe. Or just break your legs. Goodbye! You're missing the point. They didn't exist before he came along. At best, he attracts them. But I've often wondered if they're in cahoots. I've got a lot of people asking me what they can do now that they've woken up to the danger we're facing. I wish there were an easy answer. Obviously, we have to be aware of the danger posed by the criminal element, but we also need to hold to account those whose job it is to protect us. The police. These Sable agents who work for the mayor work for us, and we must not tolerate anyone who contributes to the lawlessness sweeping Manhattan. And yes, that very much includes Spider-Man. Okay, this one confounded me for a while. Apparently, Spider-Man's been seen throughout the city tampering with steam regulators. Aside from generally being a vandal and a troublemaker, why would he do this? I'll tell you why. Because when the city has to send crews out to fix these problems, they need police to direct traffic around them. That's officers who aren't stopping crime. Which leaves, say it with me, Spider-Man. He's trying to take our brave officers' jobs. Great question. Let's send this guy 2 books. So, Sable International. Where's the accountability? Well, you ask me, the police department has some accountability problems of their own. How many dirty cops were unearthed after Wilson Fisk went to prison? We don't know yet. But I'd bet it's in the hundreds. Hundreds! Not to mention the fact that our own New York's finest has been known to fraternize with Spider-Man. And since we're on the subject of accountability, let's ask this. Who's accountable for Spider-Man? Nobody, that's who. Just because he wears tights and does backflips, we're supposed to trust him? That's how civilizations fall apart, my friend. I trust the mayor, the man who made this into the greatest city in the world. If he's in charge of this Sable outfit, that's good. Maybe we'll actually start to see some change around here. Time for a break. Somebody get me a latte and a bran muffin. Stat! Now, if there's one thing I can't abide, it's egomaniacs who use the internet solely to draw attention to themselves. And we just had a real meeting of the minds in that respect, as the online personality Screwball pranked fellow narcissist Spider-Man into an epic snipe hunt that put innocent people in danger. On the one hand, Screwball did show us all just how gullible and reckless Spider-Man is, rushing headlong into dangerous situations without knowing or caring who he'll hurt as long as cameras are on him. On the other hand, Screwball herself is no better. Unlike me, she's not trying to expose wrongdoers like Spider-Man as a public service. She's just in it to promote herself, which I think is absolutely despicable. Now don't go away. Just the Facts with Jonah Jameson will be right back after this important message about how you can buy my book. Let's refrain from unfounded speculation and focus on solid established fact. Spider-Man does not care if you live or die. There is someone else who isn't emerging from this crisis in a positive light. Mayor Osborn. Experimenting on something as deadly as devil's breath in the heart of Manhattan is the height of irresponsibility. What did Osborn know and when did he know it? The answer could mean the difference between electoral defeat, impeachment, and prison. Stay tuned to the only voice you can trust in these dire times. Mine. Now, friends, you know I'm always open to differing points of view. So after a police officer called me out on social media for being too hard on Spider-Man, and it went viral and people just wouldn't shut up about it, I agreed to a debate. Officer, Welcome. Friends, I've just received an update on Adrian Toombs, aka the Vulture. Apparently, this winged criminal has fallen ill with cancer, and he's been moved to the Raft's infirmary for treatment, which will undoubtedly cost a fortune in public funds. Now let me ask you, why do we even have an infirmary at the Raft? It's a supermax prison, full of maniacs. If they get sick, let nature take its course. Now I realize that's harsh, but so is my tax bill.
Folks, I know you're scared. But when I hear reports of looting, of fights over food or medicine, I say to myself, we are better than this. You are better than this. I've known you my whole life. I am proud to be a member of this community. Don't give in to fear. Help each other. Stand up for those who need it. I've always hated hearing Spider-Man called a hero, because real heroes are the people who get up every day with no special powers and do the right thing simply because it is the right thing. So I'm asking you now, be the heroes I know you all are. J. Jonah Jameson believes in you.
All right, fair enough. I'm not saying he never does anything good. I'm saying he causes more problems than he solves. You had to go to the academy, right? Be thoroughly trained? You have rules to follow?
Okay, fair enough, I will. Then we had police and firefighters doing a wonderful job. There was crime, sure, but nothing they couldn't handle. Of course, we do have things now we didn't have then. Maniacs who shoot electricity out of their eyes, walking piles of sand, Nazis made of bees! I've always been about the truth. When I was a reporter and a newspaper publisher, I printed the truth, and now as a broadcaster, I speak it. Sometimes it hurts, but it's my responsibility to bring it to you. And the truth is, the city is not quiet, it is not peaceful, it is a disaster waiting to happen. Threats roiling under the surface like a hungry shark just beneath the waterline. Don't let Spider-Man fool you. You are not safe. None of us are. Unbelievable. I understand we have another low-information caller who thinks we're better off thanks to Spider-Man. Let's see if I can set her straight. You're on with J. Jonah Jameson. A lot of people have been telling me that, congratulating me, but I don't want congratulations. I would have loved to have been wrong, or better yet, for those in a position of power to have listened to me and done something. But they didn't, and I'm not sure they'll listen now. Unless concerned citizens like you and I make ourselves impossible to ignore. Stand up! Take your city back! That's the only way we can ever be sure that justice will be done. That and listening to me every day. I'm sorry, who did you say you saw? After much listener demand, today I am finally going to answer the question I have posed for many years. Spider-Man, threat or menace? Yes, that's right. It's time. I'm taking a position, and that position is... he's both. Sometimes he's a threatening menace, and sometimes he's a menacing threat. But come on, how can you menace someone without also being a threat? And vice versa. And for those grammar Nazis among you who say I'm being redundant, it's called art. I'm a wordsmith. It's a rhetorical device. And if you don't like it, I'll tell you where you can shove that device. Okay, my intern is telling me it's time for my pills. We will be right back. Friends, today we have a very special caller, breaking important news right here, because where else? Mayor Osborne, thanks for calling in. Reports are coming in of Wilson Fisk's men battling police, and you guessed it, Spider-Man. But how is that possible? Didn't Spider-Man take down the Fisk organization once and for all? Ha! If you've been listening to me, this isn't a surprise. No disaster involving Spider-Man is ever a surprise. One thing even my detractors have to say about J. Jonah Jameson. I admit when I'm wrong. And while I hoped his efforts in the recent crisis meant Spider-Man was finally becoming a responsible citizen, a mature adult, I am here to confess I was wrong. I wanted to believe. I hoped it was true. But even a stop clock is right twice a day. And I guess curing the plague was Spider-Man's stop clock moment. Oh, is that your expert opinion? Well, let me tell you what I've learned from sources I developed in my award-winning journalism career. That shipyard was a front for Wilson Fisk. He's been using it to smuggle guns, grenades, military-grade ordnance. Folks,
The only thing scarier than escaped hardened criminals from Rikers Island is escaped hardened criminals armed with police-issue weapons. But that's what we face after a police van was ambushed and cleaned out by a mob of escapees. The brave officers were taken by surprise. It's not their fault. But the icing on this disgusting, putrid cake of injustice is that Spider-Man was spotted in the area. And did he lift a single webbed finger to help these real heroes in their hour of need? He did not! Does anyone else find it suspicious that this rhino person always knocks down buildings and tears up roads, which someone ends up making money rebuilding? Am I suggesting a conspiracy? You're damn right! Now, if you've seen the man testify in court, you know the rhino is too stupid to plan anything himself. So who's the mastermind? Well, who else is always there, supposedly fighting Rhino, but actually leading him around like a red cape does a bull? Say it with me! Spider-Man! Hey, plug the book! Folks, I'm hearing a lot of praise for Spider-Man lately, and I'm not saying it's entirely unwarranted. He did listen to me after all, and did the right thing in the end. But dial it back, will ya? I can tell it's going to his head. Look at him. The wisecracking, the grandstanding, swinging around the city like he owns it. This is not his city, it's mine! I mean ours! Sorry, are you still talking? Because I fell asleep 10 minutes ago. Folks, I have often wondered where Spider-Man gets all his various gadgets and doodads that he recklessly uses willy-nilly around innocent civilians. Well, at long last, I think I know. My sources say he's been breaking into Oscorp's scientific research stations citywide. No doubt to steal the use of their equipment, which is supposed to be for the betterment of our scientific knowledge, for his own selfish purposes. But as a responsible citizen, I have reported my findings to Oscorp, and they assure me that they are rededicating themselves to their research. After an investigation reaffirmed the station's usefulness to society, Oscorp will be upgrading them, including security to keep out intruders. So find a new lab to break into, Webhead. Or better yet, get a job! Another low-information spider fanboy tried to troll me, as the young people say, by claiming Spider-Man was providing a public service plugging leaks in water towers. Let me tell you why this itsy-bitsy-brain spider was climbing this particular water spout, people. Because he tampered with the water pressure system. He was seen earlier messing with a valve that only qualified workers are supposed to use. Wake up, America! Spider-Man creates the problems he then solves, then expects you to reward him with your adoration. The sad thing is, all too many do. Fortunately, you know better, thanks to me. And do you have Spider-Man in Edina? Friends, today we have a very special caller, breaking important news right here, because where else? Mayor Osborne, thanks for calling in. Folks, I have to once again defend myself against the spurious claims from McDonald Mac Gargan, a.k.a. the Scorpion. Yes, as I fully disclosed, I bankrolled the experiment that gave him superior strength, speed, and that unsightly cyborg tail. The idea was to create an anti-Spider-Man who is not a threat and stops menaces. I had no idea he was crazy. Do you think his resume said psycho with a poisoning fetish? His lawsuit is a transparent attempt to reduce his sentence at the raft by placing the blame for his deeds on me. And that is one package J. Jonah Jameson refuses. Folks, I'm getting reports that Mayor Osborne has hired a private security firm to augment the overtaxed police department and find those responsible for the bombing. I don't have a lot of information on these contractors at the moment, but I want to know just who they are and what their qualifications might be. I do applaud the mayor's realization that we need help, and it's time to get tough. If he'd listened to me, maybe he would have done it sooner. Now let's see some results. As I warned, Nostradamus-like, After Spider-Man recklessly took down Wilson Fisk without preparing for the consequences, our streets are now filled with aspiring gangsters, each trying to out-psycho the other. My next guest is lucky to have survived an armed robbery. Sir, we're glad you're okay. Folks, I have received unsettling reports of Spider-Man in our public parks, where children play, apparently stalking pigeons. Yes, wild pigeons. You may wonder if he's gone insane. A perfectly valid question. But have you heard of the Goliath bird-eating spider? I'll spare you the gory details, but it's a spider big enough to devour birds. Now, Spider-Man sticks to walls like a spider. He jumps like a spider. What else does he do like a spider? I am now in possession of multiple eyewitness accounts that Spider-Man was rampaging around Central Park. This is news, you ask? We call that Tuesday. Here's the rub. He was fighting enemies that weren't there. Yes, my friends, the webhead has finally lost what tenuous grip on reality he had. At this point, really, we need to start discussing how he can be humanely put down. I've heard enough. Rational arguments are clearly lost on you, madam, but there may be hope for others out there, so let me go over it again. It is not helping when a vigilante leaps into the middle of a crime scene or emergency situation with no training, expertise, or public identity. What if he injures someone? Who holds him accountable? The answer, my friends, is me. Well, that's my job, Mr. Mayor. All I have is my integrity, and I won't compromise it for anyone. Now, what's this crucial breaking news you're revealing for the first time anywhere on my show? We have no proof Spider-Man was involved, but sometimes common sense is all the proof you need. And why, my dear friend, should you have to follow these rules and not him? Thank you, Ken. You just earned yourself a copy of my new book, Jonah Jameson, Always Right, Never Wrong. Today is a day for somber reflection, for mourning and honoring fallen heroes like Jefferson Davis. But it's also a day to vow never again. It stops here. Some people say I blame everything on Spider-Man. Well, I don't blame him for the bombing. That cowardly act is squarely the responsibility of whoever committed it. But if we're going to keep New York safe, we can no longer tolerate the kind of lawlessness Spider-Man and his ilk represent. This is our city. By God, we're going to take it back. I've had numerous callers today reporting that entire city blocks are being taken over by escaped inmates from Rikers. These are literal no-go zones in the heart of Manhattan, a dystopian future from 70s movies come to life. Why don't the police stop it, you ask? Oh, you're going to love this. It seems the prisoners ambushed a convoy carrying weapons and ammunition for the authorities and took it all for themselves. The police are outgunned by their own guns. Well, all right, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we see if Sable International and Spider-Man are the protectors they claim to be. These criminals aren't hiding. They're right in plain sight, daring you to come get them. Well, we're waiting! Here's another call of a type I've been getting a lot lately. Speak! You night owls may have seen lights flickering out at the Raft Supermax prison last night. Sadly, it was not because one of their inmates got the chair. No. Apparently, someone there hit on an idea I actually think has merit, which is making that recidivist criminal Electro pay for his room and board by powering the prison himself, saving taxpayers' money. Not surprisingly, though, it turns out he hates actual work as much as he loves robbing and murdering, so they had to go back to the city's grid, which I'd imagine is why I still can't run my microwave and toaster at the same time without blowing a fuse. Jared, get rid of him! It's all over the news. Another battle between Spider-Man and these demon-masked gunmen threatening the lives of New Yorkers. I understand our next caller lives in the area. You're on with Jonah Jameson. Has anyone else heard reports of Spider-Man literally seeking out clouds of smog to swing through? Is this the behavior of a sane individual? I'll tell you what I think is going on here. When I was a lad, there was a problem with juvenile delinquents sniffing glue to get high. Knowing Spider-Man's weak moral character and thrill-seeking personality, I'd guess the same principle is at work here. But inhaling toxic substances also damages the brain, which actually explains a lot about Spider-Man. He's swinging through the city hopped up on smog. My next caller is a courageous member of her local neighborhood watch, here to share a concern and a warning. Police reports show a rash of break-ins recently. The victim of one of them is here with us now. What happened, ma'am? And now for listener emails. May from Queens writes, "You're so full of anger and I wish you'd get help managing it. It's terrible for your health." Now I know she speaks from a place of concern, but this is a common misconception that I have to correct. I'm not full of anger. I'm full of love. I call out injustice, corruption, and crimes against humanity because I adore this city, and I want it to be better. What you hear in my voice, it's love. Nothing but love. This is always the risk of giving anyone too much power. They abuse it. Be aware that if you stand up to them, there may be consequences. It's up to you whether that's a risk worth taking. For me, clearly it is. Do you feel the police responded too slowly? I was a prize-winning reporter longer than you've been alive, punk, so don't talk to me about innocent until proven guilty. My loyal listeners, brushheads they call themselves, though I've never quite understood why, will remember my warnings about the downright Orwellian crime monitoring system the city was installing. Well, it's not operating. Why, you ask? Because someone came to their senses and realized they'd be violating civil liberties? Wrong! Because those incompetent bureaucrats built a network that crashes more often than a wino driving a bumper car, so your tax dollars got wasted, and there's nothing to show for it. Which is about as close as you get to a happy ending in the real world, kids. Jared, record that! I want it playing on a loop! A loop! Round, round! You know what a loop is! By beating you up. Aha! I said it! You all heard me say we needed this. Are you using my idea of bringing in cops from Lake Placid? Friends, there's a fine line between being a conspiracy theorist and seeing a clear pattern. I walk that line. And I am confident in perceiving a common thread among these attacks on Oscorp and Norman Osborn by the demons. The motive? It's hard to ascribe motive to lunatics, but I suspect it's no accident that they're striking at both a pillar of our corporate community and the center of our city's government. It's our very way of life that's under assault. As I have always warned, if you've been listening to me, you're ready. If not, I'll pray for you. Friends, you may have heard me express concern about Sable International. I'm starting to feel better about them after reports that they, too, recognize the threat posed by Spider-Man. They seem to have a zero-tolerance policy for his grandstanding, and that's what we all need. It's a post-City Hall world. Spider-Man is a relic of the past. If he knows what's good for him, he'll stay there. Caller, this is deeply disturbing to me. I promise you, I'll bring it to the attention of the proper authorities. Emergencies do not permit the suspension of human rights. Your elected officials may not be willing to fight for you, but J. Jonah Jameson is. Let me set the scene for you. Masked members of the demons in an all-out firefight with our valiant police officers. It's a fraught situation. Bullets flying. Innocent bystanders running for their lives. But wait! What's that overhead? It's Spider-Man, the self-styled hero of New York. And what does that hero do? He just keeps on going, leaving the police to handle it themselves, which they eventually did, because that's what real heroes do. Not frauds, not posers like Spider-Man. I never want to hear the H word used in the same sentence as his name again. Well, it seems a new criminal enterprise whose trigger-happy members wear demon masks is out to claim Wilson Fisk's old territory. My friends, the burden of being me is that I always have to say, I told you so. I predicted that the sizable void left by Wilson Fisk would attract new, more dangerous psychos trying to take his place. And what happened? Jameson was right! Again! I often say Spider-Man should let the police do their jobs. But some are pointing out that after the cops on Fisk's payroll were exposed, the police department is short-handed. Don't they need Spider-Man's help? No! What we need are more cops. Hire officers from other towns, other states, or just borrow them for a while. How much crime can there really be in Lake Placid? It says Placid in the name! Hell, bring in the National Guard if you have to, because mark my words, if we get hooked on Spider-Man now, there's no kicking that red and blue monkey off our backs. Ever! Oh, good. Then fix my toilet and shut up! Let me explain something to you about crime bosses. Soon as one goes down, every punk with a gun, a tracksuit, and a drawer full of gold chains decides he's the next godfather. We're gonna have a gang war in the streets, but does that web-headed moron give a damn? Of course not. He got on TV. That's what counts. Breaking news. I'm told a massive battle at an Oscorp biotech lab has resulted in the arrest of Martin Lee. I must stress that there is currently no information on how this affects the race to develop an anti-serum. I'm also told that the battle left Spider-Man in critical condition. Now, I had and have my problems with how Spider-Man conducts himself. But that he put his life on the line to bring Martin Lee to justice and save our city in her darkest hour? Well, for that, even I have to say, and I mean this with all sincerity, that, blast it, Jared, can't you see I'm having a moment? You what? He what? Folks, Spider-Man has just been sighted swinging around the city, which means only one thing. He planted fake reports of being critically injured to garner sympathy. Well, not on my watch. Jonah Jameson, keeping them honest, whether they like it or not. Electro trying to destroy our power grid. The Vulture raining death from above. Spider-Man egging them both on in the very heart of our city, brawling like children. Lethal children, pitching a tantrum of death and destruction. I'm often asked, why do menaces like this end up with awesome powers? Why not someone like you, Jonah? Well, I have considered trying to use advanced science to give me powers, only so I could protect you in a more hands-on way, of course. But after much reflection, I've decided against it. Because power corrupts. I'm a man of the people, and I want to stay one of the hard-working, ordinary people of New York, so I'll just help via my talk show, my publishing empire, and my vast personal fortune. No need to thank me. It's what a man of the people does. Fight back. Arm yourselves with whatever you can. Legal firearms, baseball bats, pepper spray, hell, cooking spray in the eyes if that's all you got. We're New Yorkers. We don't lie down for anyone. It started, folks. I'm getting word of a serious increase in the drug trade in our fair city. And it's not the demons or Wilson Fisk's former people. Criminals across the board are getting bolder. Just as I predicted, the rats are crawling out of their holes, sensing weakness and opportunity. No one listened to me before. I pray they'll listen to me now. Be careful out there. That's what I thought you said. Goodbye!